Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story that was sent in to me from one of my subscribers over at SSM. But since it's in the crazy department, I thought it was better to cover the story over here. There's about a guy, he's 34, married I think 6 years, wife's 31, and he's now, just recently, at the end of this story, has sent her packing after finding out she's been having an affair with her coworker, or actually boss, or supervisor, whatever you want to call it, for months now. And how did he find out this whole thing? Well, it was a whole mess that involved her showing some red flags that he didn't quite know were the total red flags at the time. But eventually, when one day she came home and it looked like she'd been bruised and everything, but it turned out that, the affair partner's wife found out about her. And it's this whole entire SHIT story that you find very entertaining. But at the end of the day, guys, once a cheater, always a cheater. And you find out your girl or wife is cheating, you need to end it. No matter how much crying and begging and promising to end things and fix things, don't buy it. And you're going to hear in this story all the typical things that you hear all the time you simply shouldn't buy. This is why I cover these stories and why they sound all so similar, because human beings do what they do, and they're usually terrible, and it'd be good to learn from these things. So in case you're in a relationship and spot some of these things, you can nip it in the butt early on here. But it's a long one, guys, but definitely worth your time, and it's definitely quite entertaining. He says, Hi SSM. My wife Linda, a 31-year-old female, and I met at a wedding of my friends Greg and Angie 11 years ago. Linda and I married 6 years ago. We've been happily married, or so I thought. Again, how many times have we heard that song and dance? Linda is a supervisor in the customer service department of a multinational corporation. Greg and I license and operate 4 coffee shops associated with a large national chain. Angie is a lawyer specializing in family law. Linda and I don't have any kids, but we've always wanted them. Customer service calls at Linda's company initially go to a call center overseas. Well, there's a surprise. And if the call is escalated, it goes first to a lead service person overseas, and then, if the customer is still unhappy, to one of Linda's team or a similar team back here in the USA. Yeah, that's how it usually works. She says the overseas call center people are trained to be sympathetic but get callers off the phone as quickly as possible. The people overseas can't really do anything to help solve the problems people call in about. Customers are beginning to understand that so more and more calls are escalated to Linda's team in the USA. Yeah, when I have to call in about something and I get a call center overseas, I don't screw around. I say I want to speak to an American, somebody here. I'm quite blunt and to the point. For the past 3 or 4 months, Linda has been working a lot of late nights and Saturdays. Saturdays, huh? Late nights, huh? She says a lot more calls are being routed to the U.S. from overseas, and she doesn't have enough people to handle the call volume. Our company takes customer service calls until 9 p.m. weekdays and until 5 p.m. on Saturdays. Someone has to be there to answer the phone. Then they can get another manager. She doesn't have to be working 6 days a week, like 10 hours a day or more. Bullshit. She's been getting home some weeknights at 10 p.m. and has been working all day some Saturdays, at least 1 night a week and 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. Sure. Either that's true, well, we know it's not true, but say it was, they can get another fucking manager instead of her working actually more like she's coming home at 10 p.m., way longer than by 12-hour days. She's a salaried employee, so she doesn't get overtime. Well, then she should be looking for a different career. I told her she should find another job or she can just quit and get pregnant. She can be a stay-at-home mom. We don't need her income. Linda says she's not ready to have kids. She likes her job and the people she works with. Also, the late nights are temporary until they hire and train new people. Yeah, right, they're taking their sweet-ass time, but we know this is BS, so, but if it was true, yes, time for her to make demands or quit. She says they are hiring people, but they're having these new hires take calls without proper training. She has to be there so she can answer their questions about what to say to customers. I wasn't suspicious of her late nights. We're also having problems hiring people for our coffee shops, and Greg and I have been putting in some late nights and Saturdays too, not like Linda though. Last Thursday, Linda called me to tell me that she'd be working late again. She'll be home by 10 p.m. But she got home about 6:30 p.m. She'd been beaten up. Holy crap. She had bruises on her face and her eye and almost swollen shut. I got her seated in the living room and asked what happened. She said she left work before she wasn't feeling well, and she was mugged in the car garage. The guy tried to grab her handbag, but the strap was around her head and the opposite shoulder. The mugger punched her and knocked her down, making it harder for him to get the bag over her head. The mugger kicked her while she was on the ground and kept pulling at the handbag. Now, if this was true, I'd be saying a lot of things about the scumbags of the world and what should happen to them, but, well, you're going to find out more about this. Finally, some people entered the garage and the mugger ran away. I asked her if she called the police. She said there was no point. She'd never be able to identify the guy. He was wearing a ski mask. He didn't take anything. There are security guards inside her building. She should have asked one of them to walk her to the car. She will from now on, or leave with a group. She'll make sure everyone at the work knows about the mugging, so they'll be careful. She said it was pointless to go to the police. The guy was long gone. I said we should go to the emergency room, and Linda was obviously in a lot of pain. She said she didn't think anything was broken, and she could move all her limbs. She was just very sore. If we went to the emergency room, they'll make her fill out a police report. They'll probably think I beat her up. She didn't want to spend all night at the ER. She just wanted to soak in the bath and go to bed. She started to get up from the couch and winced. I helped her up the stairs and told her I would draw her a bath while she undressed. I started to fill the bathtub, and when I went back into our bedroom as Linda was hanging up her dress, I hadn't thought of it before, but her dress wasn't ripped or dirty. How interesting. Her shoes weren't scuffled. If she was fighting this guy from the cement floor in the garage, her clothes would be torn, ripped, or at least dirty. Unlike her battered body, her dress and shoes were fine. And she wasn't wearing pantyhose. Linda always wears pantyhose to work. Red flags in this story, huh? But what she was wearing was a necklace of a coworker named Fred he gave her earlier in the week. She got a necklace from a coworker. The necklace was hidden under her dress when she arrived home, so I didn't see it until she removed her dress. This was a necklace that Linda and I had argued about. Linda told me she had returned the gift to Fred. When she finished undressing, Linda went to look at the bruises and cuts on her body in a full-length mirror. She saw she was still wearing the necklace. Alarmed, she quickly turned away from me and put it on her robe, holding it shut at the throat to hide the necklace from me. You're going to be able to see it. She hurried into the bathroom and shut the door. I looked in her handbag. Her pantyhose were stuffed in there. I pulled her pantyhose out. It wasn't torn or dirty either. Linda's knees were in bad shape, but her pantyhose was in perfect condition. Knees were in bad shape, huh? Yeah, we can all make jokes about that one. Linda's knees are in bad shape, blah, blah, blah. Evidently, Linda took off all her clothes before getting mugged. There was no way she was wearing those clothes as she was rolling around the cement floor of a car garage. After her bath, she got into bed. The necklace was gone, but I asked her about it. I told her I thought she had returned it to Fred. Why did she still have it? Oh, hell no, your wife's wearing a necklace that some dude gave her. But she liked how it looked, so she bought herself a similar necklace. The necklace she was wearing was the one she bought for herself. Then she told me to stop with the questions. She'd just been mugged. Did I really want to interrogate her about a stupid necklace now? Did I have any other senseless questions that couldn't wait until she was feeling better, and I let her go to sleep? Lots of red flags, my man. I'd be insisting she'd go to the hospital just in case, and I'd be insisting about a police report. Red flags, red flags, red flags. As I said, Linda supervises a group of customer service reps. So does Fred. He's about my age. About 4 months ago, I suddenly started to hear a lot about Coworker Fred. What I tell you guys about when a gal suddenly starts talking about another dude. According to Linda, he's smart, funny, and a great guy. Everyone likes him. He's always there to help. He helped her sort out one of her employees who was being a jerk. He handled the situation perfectly. I started to hear almost daily about this wonderful Fred. Guys, this is why women freak out. Your girlfriends go nuts when you start talking about another woman or women, because they naturally assume that, you like them or something else. That's why when women start talking about other dudes extensively, pay attention. Last Monday, Linda came in from work wearing a pearl drop necklace. I asked her about it, and she told me it was a gift from Fred. Oh, hell no. How much do they think that thing cost? Fred was having some marital problems, and Linda was giving him some advice about how Fred and his wife can communicate better. So he bought her a fucking pearl necklace? How about he give her a wad of cash and her husband gets a commission? Fred found her advice so helpful that he bought her Linda a necklace as a thank you. Fred was just grateful for her help. It was no big deal. A small thank you. Linda looked at me and saw my reaction. Oh, I'm sure this guy's wife, who was having marital problems, would love the idea he was buying a pearl necklace for another woman. Yeah, why don't you come up with a better story next time, you idiot? I asked Linda what is going on between her and Fred. Why is she constantly talking about him? Why is he giving her gifts? Linda said there's nothing going on. He's just a work friend. Fred loves his wife almost as much as Linda loves me. They were just work mates who would help each other at work. They aren't interested in each other that way. No romantic interest whatsoever. He is just someone she can rely upon for help and for occasional work advice. Did I remember when she was trying to figure out how to ask her boss for a raise? Fred knew exactly how she should approach her boss. What, give the boss a necklace too? Trust her. Fred is nothing to worry about. Okay, let's remember that line. They never see each other outside of work. It was all innocent. Linda told me there is no need for me to be suspicious of Fred. I told Linda I was not comfortable with her having a man as a close friend. She said I shouldn't be so insecure. Of course. There was no other man in her life but me. Certainly not Fred. There was no attraction there. She repeated he was just a friend, who I should not be concerned about for 1 second. It's ridiculous to think she's interested romantically in Fred. Or him and her. I'm all the man she wants or needs. I should stop being silly. So you hear all the gaslighting and insults and all that stuff. Insecure, being silly, blah, blah, blah. I guarantee this dude was hanging out with another chick or talked about another chick like this, or a chick gave him something of value. She would have a freaking massive problem about this whole thing. I told Linda I wanted her to give back the necklace. I wanted her to tell him she only accepts gifts from her husband. That his gift is inappropriate. Linda was taken aback. She said she doesn't see any need to return the necklace. It would be insulting to Fred. It doesn't mean anything other than he was grateful for her advice. If I'm concerned, she'll tell him no more gifts from now on. But there's no need to return the necklace. It's pretty and she likes it. She already accepted it. If she gives it back, Fred will be offended. Of course this story's bullshit, but who gives a fuck if he's offended? You know who comes first? Your husband. He'll know it was me who forced her to return it. So, do I want Fred to think I'm a control freak who's jealous of him and doesn't trust my wife? Who cares? I told her to give it back. I don't care if Fred is offended. I certainly don't care what Fred thinks. Married women should only accept gifts from their husbands, not other men. Exactly. Fred needs an ass whooping. Linda was now angry. Why don't I trust her? She's done nothing wrong. I told her she has done something wrong, all right. She accepted a gift from another man. Linda started yelling at me. Why am I suddenly being so difficult? It would be a huge embarrassment for her to return Fred's gift. It would strain her and Fred's friendship. She needs work friends to survive at work. She's not giving the gift back. Period. Okay, we'll have a compromise. You don't have to give it back to Fred, but you can take that necklace to a pawn shop and get cash for it, sell it to a pawn shop, get cash for it, and donate that money to some charity that helps children. Then no problem. That's what you can do. That way you don't have to give it back to Fred. How's that sound? Yeah, good luck with that one. She's not giving it back, period. No more discussion. I'm taking something completely innocent and blowing it up in such a big deal. She's not going to let me do that. The gift was just a thank you from a friend. It means nothing. I told her if it means nothing, just do as I ask. More like do as I say. She said give her one good reason why I should give it back, other than to soothe my fragile ego. I told her she should give it back because that's what I want her to do. She needs no other reason. Linda saw I was getting angry, and she looked at me for a while, but then said, okay, she'll give the necklace back to Fred tomorrow. But I should work on my trust issues. She stormed out of the room. We went to bed angry, something we swore we'd never do. Yeah, that's never a good idea. Next morning, she wasn't wearing the necklace, but asked me in a huff if I had realized how silly I was being and changed my mind about her having to give back the necklace. Nope, I haven't changed my mind. I told her we need to discuss her quitting her job. She said I was a controlling a-hole and left for work. Always a man's fault. When I got to the office, my partner and friend Greg noticed I was out of sorts and asked what was going on. I told him that for the first time I was concerned about Linda's fidelity. He said that Angie is meeting him for lunch. Did I want to join them and talk about it? Angie is a divorce attorney, and you bet I wanted to join them for lunch. A divorce attorney, huh? Your business partner and bro's wife's a divorce attorney. Wonderful. I described to Greg and Angie my argument with Linda about Fred and the necklace. Angie asked a few questions about what Linda's been saying about Fred. I told her about how wonderful Linda thought Fred was. Angie said Fred is Linda's work husband. What the fuck? Angie explained that some people develop insane emotional bonds with coworkers. It's so common, there's a name for it, work spouses. It usually begins as platonic relationship. They're just good friends, nothing romantic. Maybe some mild flirting, but it's all innocent. There's no such thing as innocent flirting. People say that shit all the time. Oh, it's innocent flirting. No. At least that's what they tell themselves. But the work spouses become dependent on one another. And these close work friends, these intense work attachments are always with someone from the opposite sex. Funny how that's always the case. Well, unless they're, lesbians or something. Angie continued, the relationship with the work spouse almost always develops into something more. When Linda's at home, she's my wife. When she's at work, she's Fred's wife. Her emotional attachment to her work husband may be as strong as her emotional attachment to me. Some people refuse to leave their jobs even for a promotion. If it means no longer being with their work spouse, Angie, the divorce attorney, told Greg and me some statistics on infidelity with coworkers. Supposedly, according to Angie, he says, about 85% of spouses who start to cheat begin their infidelity with a coworker. Somewhere around 40% of married employees begin an S-word relationship with a work spouse they've developed an emotional attachment to. And once she begins to cheat, an unfaithful wife is 3 times more likely to continue to cheat. They cheat on their current husbands, any future husbands, and even cheat on the guys they're cheating with. Sounds about right from all the stories I've covered. Cheaters start with a work spouse and move on to others. Angie looked at me and said an unfaithful wife quickly falls out of love with her husband, her work husband, and falls in love with the thrill of cheating. That's the key, the thrill. Once they get a taste for the cheating, unfaithful wives don't give it up. When she's finished with this one, she'll move on to the next one. It's not the guy as much as the thrill cheating and the affair sex that she's after. The guys she has the affairs with are more or less interchangeable. That's why I'm convinced it's less about the dick and it's more about the excitement of the dick. Angie said that Fred is Linda's work husband. There's a strong emotional attachment already. Angie said she sees this progression from a platonic relationship between coworkers to a sexual one all the time with her clients. That's almost a cliche. Most of the divorces she does result from the husband finding out about the wife, what she's really up to with her work husband, or the wife finding out the husband with his coworker. I said that Linda would never do that. Smack! Come on, dude. She's never go as far as a physical relationship with Fred. She accepted a freaking necklace from him, dude, and she's been late nights and all that, those type of stories. That she would never cheat on me. Angie said that even if Linda is only involved in an emotional relationship with this Fred, it's already cheating. During the day when she's with her work husband, she thinks about me only when she needs to plan dinner or do some marital chores. She thinks about her work husband all the time, day and night. She spends way more time with him than she is with me. When she decides what to wear to work, when she does her hair, when she's putting on makeup, when she's having sex with me, she's thinking about him. She said apparently 50% of women fantasize about other men when they are having sex with their husbands. Well, let's be fair here. I'm sure more than 50% of married guys after a while imagine the hot chick they saw at Starbucks or, well, okay, that bad example. Usually those chicks are like, what do you call them, hipster chicks. Some hot chick you saw at the gym. Most husbands are thinking about other women when they're porking their wives. So it goes both ways. There's more than husbands that's more than husbands think about other women when they're having sex with their wives. And half of those wives fantasize about a coworker. Linda may make dinner for me, but everything else she does for him. Sooner or later, all he'll do is take her hand and she will follow him to a hotel room. When the husband finds out what's going on with the work husband, they'll end up with divorce attorneys. Angie says she'd be out of business if it wasn't for work spouses. And she continued that Linda is not a statistic, so the 40% of married people who have full-blown affairs with work spouses may not apply to her. But it may. If she's accepting gifts from Fred, she's already pretty far down the rabbit hole. Just think how bizarre this situation is. A married woman accepting a pearl necklace from a coworker, a huge red flag. Thank you. Well, the divorce attorney obviously knows this. Linda's so far gone, she doesn't realize how inappropriate that is. Bullshit. She just doesn't care. So far gone, she doesn't even hide the necklace from me. All she thinks about is how wonderful Fred is and his gifts are. Everyone, including me, should think so too. I then asked Angie, what should I do? And she said this is an at-fault and a no-fault state. How are you in a both? I don't have enough to prove adultery and divorce Linda for infidelity. If a divorce is what I want, I can go the no-fault route and divorce her without using infidelity. She'll get me a divorce with a good settlement. But why not wait and see what happens? If I can prove infidelity, I'll get a much better divorce settlement. She can suggest a PI if I want to, or I can look through Linda's phone, or just wait and see how Linda behaves. One thing for sure, I have to get an STD test done ASAP. An STD test sounded crazy, so I laughed. Angie said she's not kidding. Get the STD test. If Linda openly accepts gifts from this guy, she's effing him. Right, think about that. Yeah, you need an STD test, abso-freaking-lutely. Thank God they don't have kids. Then Angie started to tell me about your channel on YouTube. Aha, a female subscriber. Both Greg and Angie are subscribers and watch the videos together. Angie said she's one of the 5% of people watching SSM who are women. Well, actually, that number is 4%. We're trying to get to 5%. She says more women should watch. Watching you keep more women from screwing up their lives. She recommends you to all her female friends. She also recommends you to all her male clients who are divorcing their wives for infidelity. Greg also says he watches the videos and will help me see things more clearly with Linda. Oh, Greg says I should start watching them. Yeah, you should start watching. Well, obviously you do watch them now. Well, shout out to Linda and Greg for recommending my channel, or channels. I thought YouTube videos about infidelity, are they nuts? They can't be serious. Our lunch was on Tuesday, but at the end of the next weekend, I was addicted to your channel. Yeah, I get people say it all the time. They watch one video, and the next thing they know, it starts sounding like something they're familiar with, or they find the videos entertaining as hell, and then they're hooked. And they start binge watching. And so I thank you for your business. Linda did not work late that Tuesday and came home in a better mood. No necklace around her neck. She was smiling. She told me that she gave the necklace back to Fred. Bullshit. She said she made sure Fred understands it was inappropriate for him to give it to her. She told Fred that he eventually thinks there's more to the relationship than there actually is. That they're just co-workers and that's it. They should behave professionally in all situations. No more gifts, no more discussions about his marriage, no more talks about anything other than work stuff. Linda told me Fred agreed with her. Their relationship will be solely a professional one from now on. Your nose is growing, Pinocchio. Where's Jiminy Cricket? Jiminy Cricket is doing face palms over this bitch. Linda went on to say that our talk and my discomfort about Fred and the necklace fully sunk in. Our talk really cleared the fog out of her head. Linda thanked me for confronting her about Fred. She needed the kick in the butt. I'm right about everything. She was actually putting Fred's feelings above mine. Insane. She is so sorry about getting me mad about the stupid necklace. She should never have argued with me about something who doesn't matter to her. She loves me, and I know what's best for me and her and our marriage. She'll always listen to me from now on. I'll never hear about Fred again. This is the biggest bunch of bullcrap ever. She knows darn well you're going to tell her to leave the job, and she wants to stay at the job to be with Fred, so she's kissing your butt and saying everything you said is totally right. A total 180. It's a total bullshit. Or she's buying her time to plan her exit strategy with good old Fred. She said he's nobody, and she understands how inappropriate accepting the gift was. Can I forgive her for not refusing Fred's necklace immediately? And for the childishly carrying on about wanting to keep the necklace. Please forgive her. Anytime I think she stepped out of line again, I should immediately get up in her face about it. She thanked me again for straightening her out about Fred and the stupid necklace. It won't happen again. Bullshit, bullshit, and oh yes, P.S. bullshit. I can't tell you how relieved I was. Smack! You actually believe that crap? No more Fred, no more work husband, no more worries about Linda being unfaithful. We kissed and made up. More making up later that night in bed. Our marriage is back on track. Smack! No, it isn't. Linda's apology was on a Tuesday, 2 nights before Linda came home beaten up and wearing Fred's necklace. That she still had his necklace was more than a slap in the face. I tossed and turned all that night thinking about how to find the truth about her and Fred. I thought maybe I'd hide near her work. See if she actually was working late and leaving with Fred or someone else. Maybe I should hire Angie's PI. There you go. I decided to check her phone. The next morning, last Friday, she was already out of bed when I woke up. I found her in the kitchen and she had her phone in her hand but quickly put it on the counter when she saw me. She said she only got up to call into work sick. She was too sore to go to work. She went back to bed, leaving her phone in the kitchen. I picked her phone up and put it in her pen. Her pen was always been my birth date. My birth date didn't work. I took her phone upstairs and asked her why she changed her phone password. She angrily asked why I wanted to go through her phone. I told her I forgot to tell Greg something and my phone was dead. It was important, so I needed to use her phone. She's not going to believe that. Asked her again why she changed her PIN. She said she changed it when her grandmother died a few months ago. The new PIN was her grandmother's birth date. When she needed to open her phone with a PIN, using the new PIN reminded her of grandma. What a load of crap. She gave me her new passcode and told me to look through her phone as much as I wanted. She has nothing to hide. Yeah, because she had it wiped. That's why. I went back downstairs and snooped through her phone. All the social media apps were gone. There were texts, phone calls, and emails to me, and some people at work, including Fred. Her two close girlfriends and her parents, nothing else. Am I supposed to believe a woman in her early 30s does not have social media on her phone? Sure. I read some of the emails and texts, opened her deleted texts, and read through them. Everything appeared innocent. Did you check the deleted file or the trash can or the sent messages in a separate folder? Linda kept in touch with her friends from her childhood and college through her social media apps, especially Facebook and Instagram. Those apps were gone from her phone. I guess she realized me seeing her wearing Fred's necklace last night would make me suspicious. She got to her phone before I did and deleted everything. That's exactly what she did. Maybe I'll get into her iPad and laptop over the weekend. Linda was asleep in bed, or at least pretending to be. So I went to work. I was sure now Linda was having a full-blown affair. The next night, last Friday, I found out how Linda really got beaten up. I was watching TV and Linda was on the phone with one of her girlfriends. There was a knock at the door a little before 7 p.m. It was Fred and his wife. I recognized them from work events, but they've never been to our house. I opened the door and said hello. I looked back at Linda. There was absolute terror on Linda's face. She hung up on her friend without saying goodbye and looked around, and she was trying to find a place to hide. Okay. I'd never seen her so panicked before. Fred's wife asked if they could come in. I let them in and had them sit on the couch. Fred also looked like he'd been in a fight as well. He had some bruising on his cheek, a swollen nose, and a split lip. He looked terrified. Linda was in a chair across from the couch, and I saw in the chair next to hers. Fred's wife said hello to Linda and asked if she was recovering from her injuries. She studied Linda's face and said that the bruises and swelling didn't look too bad. She, Fred's wife, had gone way too easy on her. She asked me what Linda told me about how she got beaten up, and I told her Linda was mugged. Fred's wife laughed. So we can all see where this is going. That was this dude's wife. Fred's the dude's porking this chick, this guy's wife, and she got her ass whooped by the wife. Now, it's funny and all, but you think that she'd be calling the cops. Clearly not. Linda just leaned forward, elbows on her knees with her hands over her face. She was crying. The wife said her husband has something to tell me. I looked at him, and when he wasn't quick enough, the wife said, "Talk, you piece of shit." The husband said he and Linda have been having an affair for the last 3 months. Imagine that. They've been meeting nights after work and on Saturdays. Fred's wife got suspicious, and she and her brother followed them to a motel last night. They caught Linda and Fred in bed together. Fred said he's sorry about everything. The affair is over now, and he wanted to apologize to me. Fred needs an ass whooping. His wife said Fred is full of crap. He's only sorry he got caught. Fred looked down and said nothing. Man, Fred's a bitch. The wife continued that she didn't know what she was going to do with him, but she told him he had to confess the whole thing to me. That's why he's here. He's not sorry. He just doesn't want to. He doesn't want to make amends. He just wants to remain married. If they divorce, after alimony and child support, the division of assets, Fred will be living in a cardboard box in the street. She'll get everything in the divorce. I'd be like, so? Linda was still hiding her face, but crying more loudly now. I'd be like, shut the fuck up. I asked the husband how it started. He said they worked together closely. They started to eat lunch together, then had some drinks after work, then dinners. Then eventually at a motel, and he apologized again. Yeah, kiss my ass. Fred's wife asked if Linda was telling me she had to work late because of staffing shortage. That's where her husband told her to cover his coming home late and on Saturdays. That was all BS. They had no staff shortages. They rarely had to work late. She hit her husband with the elbow, and he said it's true. They used that as an excuse so he and Linda could meet. They rarely had to work late ever, and never on Saturdays. When they said they were working, Linda and Fred were out on dates together. You know what? Let these two a-holes have each other. Time for a divorce. Fred's wife asked if I had any further questions, and I asked if they used condoms. Fred said they always did. I told his wife that I knew more than enough. I had no more questions for him. She said she didn't want these two a-holes working together anymore. Fred had put in for a transfer to another department that morning, but it would take a little time to transfer to go through. Can I keep my mouth shut at home? Can I keep my SLUT at home for a week or two? Maybe some of our neighbors can step in and fill the hole in Linda's life by her not being able to bang Fred. The wife poked the husband again with her elbow, but harder. He said there should be no problem getting the transfer. It should only take a week or two. He'll be on a different floor. He'll never talk to Linda again. Yeah, sure. I told Linda needs to keep her job, but if that's what Fred wants, Linda will stay home until Fred gets his transfer. When they got up to leave, the wife looked at Linda and said that if she caught Linda anywhere near her husband again, the ass whooping she gave Linda at the motel was nothing compared to what she would do to her. Then Fred's wife looked at me and asked me if I wanted to punch Fred. She said, don't worry, Fred won't do anything. He'll just stand there and take it. More than one punch if I want to, as many as I want. Well, I believe her that he wouldn't do anything. Fred's a fucking coward. I thanked her for letting me know about the affair, but declined her invitation to punch Fred. Fred looked relieved. Fred's wife then asked me if she could punch Linda a few more times. I said, okay with me. Go ahead. Linda jumped up from the chair and ran upstairs. I heard her bedroom door slam shut. Fred's wife laughed and she and Fred left. I thought, boy, am I glad I'm not Fred. What a miserable life he's going to have. So that is the end of part one, guys. The other part's too long and I can't do this all in one sitting. So I'm going to continue on part two where the things go with getting the divorce started and the wife and all the drama and the I'm sorries and all the funny stuff. Probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours from now. So definitely stay tuned then. You're going to hear how this whole story continues on and plays out. See you then.